Yeah, g'day. Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. It's the Southern River Band, and as always, I'm joined by my host, Mark Reddings. You can follow us on socials, Shelter FootyCast. You can send us an email, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au. G'day, Skeet. Have you finished the latest episode of Maths, mate? Didn't hear from you last night. We usually have a bit of a text back and forth. I thought you might have been a bit busy.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you. I watched Maths. Am I embarrassed to admit that publicly? Yes, I am. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. But what you got to understand, Scully, is you sit there, and you're more appropriately dressed than I am on a 35-degree day, is that I sit there with my daughters, who are 21, and we predominantly talk about, and this is about the women and what cosmetic surgery they may have had. This is true. Yes. And I say, has this girl got Botox? I go, yeah, heaps of it. Lip filler as well? Yeah, all that. And of course you ask the obvious, is that a boob job? So they're just questions we ask as father-daughter, and they say almost all of those women that we look at, and this is, blokes probably have stuff done as well, but, the more obvious with the women.
Yes.
This is what they get, Dad. Oh, she's had that. And they're 25 years of age. I'm going, what is going on in the world?
Meanwhile, Skeeter's just sitting there with his Jats crackers, little bourbon in his hand, maybe a shelter, just enjoying your times. It's good to see you, Skeeter.
You too.
Mate, maybe you've got a sour. I'm still waiting for the sour review. Just remember, it is Shelter's Summer of Sour, Skeeter.
No, I will. I'll make sure in the next 48 hours, around the Scorchers time, because the sour, the Scorchers, I'll make that a little
this weekend's the Summer of Sour.
Yes,
okay.
Let's get that happening because it'll be 38 degrees on Saturday. They should be pushing the time back for the Scorchers. But anyway, that's only from a spectator's point of view. But it is a summer sport. I do appreciate that.
That is correct. And it is a Summer of Sour. Sour beer, Skate, to give you a bit of a preview, mate. It's refreshing, it's crisp, it's crushable. It's just a bit different to having a beer. But you still feel big enough that you're having a beer with the boys. You just have a nice little change up, a nice little sour.
I went to Dan Murphy's on Saturday, and there was a heap of Shelter, and I saw exactly.
I assume there wouldn't be much Shelter left. I mean, it's usually sold out. It must have just restocked.
I saw a bloke walk out with a 4-pack of the Shelter here, so good. Up and about. And what, in all honesty, what I was really surprised was and is the amount of WA crafted beer, the variety. There's so many options out there.
Correct.
At the moment. So for Shelter to be making a mark as it is, it's a credit to them.
Sit right at the top. You can win some great prizes in this Summer of Sour comp, Skeeter, and you can enter on the website, shelterbrewing.com.au, $600 exclusive escapes voucher. You might want to get down to Busselton, maybe stay down at wherever the big houses are down there. You'd know where they are, Skeeter. Have you had any VIP tickets come across, maybe?
For this week, no. At this stage,
Not
I'm
yet.
going to the shoe at 4 o'clock to watch the Scorchers play, and it's going to be at 45 degrees in the shoe as well, so it's going to be warm wherever you go.
I reckon the Shelter FootyCast, we can chuck a little prize back here, and it's unofficial, of course. You can have beers with Skeeter at the shoe when he doesn't get his VIP ticket this weekend, if you want to get down there
Absolutely.
and see Mark Reddings. Very good. Shelter, born and brewed in Busselton. You are on the Shelter FootyCast. Let's start in AFL land, a couple of big moments. West Coast have named their captains. Luke Shuey is the captain. Tom Barrass, Jeremy McGovern, vice-captains. Nick Natanui steps away from a senior leadership role but still plays a leadership role at the footy club. Surprised, happy, content, thought it was going to happen. Luke Shuey captain next year.
I think what it does say is that Tom Barrass has emerged as the next at least strong candidate alongside Jay McGovern, which makes sense to me, and no surprise Luke Shuey. Again, 17 games last year. That number will surprise some people because it felt like he hasn't played a lot of footy, but 17 games, looking like he's going to be more a half-back role, or certainly not predominantly a mid this year. So, look, he's prepared for the change of role. He admitted yesterday that the accusations of the club and the players not being as fit as they could have been were probably not far from the mark. So he was prepared to absorb all the bad stuff that they endured last year. But, he's hanging his hat, as a lot of people are at the Eagles, on what Collingwood did last year, what Sydney had done in recent times, and that's come from a lowly position and bounced pretty quickly. You
know what I loved about that press conference yesterday? And if you didn't see it, it was a Luke Shuey presser talking to the media for the first time as captain, reappointed captain. He was just honest. And sometimes when players get on those pressers, there's a lot of blowback. They say something and everyone runs with it. Because he was so honest, media can't take it and turn it into something.
No.
So he literally said, people that said that we were unfit last year, there's a lot of external commentary. You probably weren't too far from the truth.
Problem is, when that was asked last year to a player or a coach, in the moment they're saying no.
That's what I mean. When you're not honest, that's not honest, right? You're trying to deflect. You're trying to minimise. If you just come out and say, whatever the situation is either, whether it be this or, we've seen the Taryn Thomas thing we're going to cover a little bit later in the show. If you just come out and be honest about something, very often the reaction publicly is, oh, right.
But if they'd said that last year and say, look, we're not fit enough, and they don't have the answers as to why that is.
Yeah, but where do you go with, last year they're clearly not fit. They're not playing well. They're not running out games. They're getting smashed. If they come out and say, look, put our hands up, I don't think we're fit enough, I think it would be a smaller blow-up than what was continued theory and the story last year was just continue. They're not fit enough. If you come out and said it, where do you go? You can't do anything.
Yeah.
Honesty is an undervalued thing at AFL.
But also when you're living in that moment of say that the group's not fit, either you don't see it or it takes a bit of reflection at the end of the season.
Bit of denial.
A bit of all that just to say, look, you know what, in hindsight, we looked at the way we didn't run out games. That might be also part of where Boots is coming from, just saying, look, we sat down and thought, you know what, we thought we were doing the work we had to. We now realise we weren't.
I think you asked me if I thought he was going to be captain a couple of weeks ago, and I think I said that he would be, and I think it's the right appointment to continue his role. Tom Barrass is the heir to the throne, Oscar Allen below him. I think next year they'll look to make a change. Luke's getting towards the end of his career. Spoke to him on 6PR on Monday. On Tuesday. He did mention the stuff about the back line. So Ruben, Jimby and Elliot Yeo and Luke Shuey, again, reading between the lines, as I do, Skeeter, you take some things for, whatever. It's just lip service. But I think there will be a three-way rotation. This is how West Coast do things. They do little triangles. So they might go half forward to wing to on ball. Mm-hmm. So you're in a group, and that's how you communicate on the field. I think this year West Coast have got a half-back midfield bench triangle, and those three will rotate through those spots.
So you think Ruben Jinby is part of the golden triangle already?
Luke Shuey, Elliot Yeo, Jimby will rotate through half-back, in the middle and on the bench. And that way you've got a young player who you can blood in.
Teach.
You might be able to, in those triangles, it's not an equal share either. They won't spend equal time in the midfield. So you'd think out of those three, Yo and Shuey would dominate the midfield time. Jimby will get a fair share in the back line and some bench work as well, right? So I think that's exciting. That'll be a good look for West Coast. Shuey's a good ball user, been a great ball user for a good time. And as a midfielder, he was the guy that if there was anyone stuck behind the footy and they just had to defend, Luke Shuey was my guy. I knew he'd get the job done. Some midfielders, I'll name, Dom Sheed, he's running around looking for a kick. We got Matty Prittis back in the day. He wouldn't have known what a fist was. Like if he was stuck in the back line, he'd be squealing like a little pit. He's a Brownlow medalist because he does what he does up the ground. But Luke Shuey can defend. So I think it's a good look for West Coast.
Yeah, and a sound appointment. I think Nat Fyfe, pretty much a similar narrative there. I think he'll captain this year, and I think probably after this year it might be a change in the guard. We know Darcy Moore's taken over at Collingwood yesterday.
Yes.
Good appointment, the son of Peter, and some great heritage there. Still Geelong to sort out their captaincy. Tom Stewart, Patrick Dangerfield, probably the two in the mix, and we think James Sicily's going to get the gig at Hawthorn. But yeah, interesting. Geelong's the most interesting because of the Selwood factor and being the reigning premiers.
Yeah, that's a good
and they've
point.
got some really good. I mean, Tom Hawkins, you can't discount, but tell me the last full forward that's been full-time captain.
And Tom Hawk's my age or maybe a bit older than me as well, so he's going to 35. You're not going to make a 35-year-old a captain of that side. I think it's an obvious one. It's between Stewart and Dangerfield. It's almost like a reward for consistency for Dangerfield. Like he's getting on in age as well. Yep. Or do they want to give it to their most important player, which is Tom Stewart? He's more important than Dangerfield. Dangerfield's replaceable now. Might not have been 3 years ago, but he is now.
I think Danger suits he's comfortable in the media, has a good relationship with the media.
Yes.
So probably, and I think you're right. The reward for what he's done over his career, it was for 1 year, 2 years.
Could we see some co-captains coming out
Possibly.
of Geelong? Disappointingly, I think we might. Another big issue if we move on to this one, and look, it's an interesting one given, I guess, both of our relationships with both the media and inside footy clubs. Jack Darling, yesterday it was revealed, is suing Channel 7 or 7 West Media, as well as Ryan Daniels personally in the federal court. Allegations and federal court documents lodged or at least revealed yesterday through the media. Without commenting too much on the issues at hand, I think overall it's a pretty interesting time that a player is suing the major media outlet in this state, in Western Australia, for defamation. It doesn't happen very often. I can remember Adam Selwood suing might have been the West for defamation around the Des Headland case. I don't know how many more I remember.
It's few and far between, you're right. And it's all obviously about the vaccination status that he had or didn't have at the time. And there were articles written about him and his preparedness to have the vaccination. Skipping through all the finer details, this will be settled out of court. It'll be a payment to Jack. Is it the sort of publicity that the Eagles and the club want at this time, given this time last year this was very much making headlines? I'm not sure. I
spoke about this as a former teammate of Jack's and put myself, if I was a current teammate of Jack's last year, around vaccinated, not vaccinated. I couldn't care less about any of that, to be really honest. But as a teammate, I was there to win and to compete. And as a player, I didn't want negative headline. I didn't want attention where it wasn't football. I went through that as a player through the post 2006, 2007. We won a wooden spoon in 2010 because of that. And I think negative attention to the football club is not what West Coast need. And if I was a teammate, although you got to do what you got to do in Jack Darling's circumstance, and no one would be saying do otherwise. I think if I was a current teammate, I'd just be wanting the focus to be on football. So I'd be disappointed as a current teammate, I think.
That being said, surely footballers, they see the story.
They're black and white.
You just look at it, move on. You're playing professional sports. So if this dragged on,
I think overall the sentiment would be we'd love to move on for this as a football club.
Yeah, everyone would.
Correct. What about this one, Skeeter? Victoria Azarenka, who's a Belarusian. On Monday we spoke about politics and athletes and the correlation, who's responsible, the banning, the playing under a blank flag, all of that. We got a little bit into it. Really good comment on YouTube, and if you do want to send some of these through, happy to talk about them on the podcast. So jump on YouTube, subscribe to a channel. BackChat is the channel. You can comment and we can pull some into the show. This is from Maddie Harris. I just think it was probably a bit different to what my view was, and I was a bit enlightened about it, so I thought I might read it out. In the 70s and 80s, a lot of countries refused to compete against South Africa due to apartheid.
Yep.
I think a lot of people now say that was the right move. Similar, in my view, to the current treatment of Russian and Belarusian sports people and organisations, and also the Cricket Australia refusal to play Afghanistan, tying that in. It's not asking athletes to be responsible for their government's actions. It's saying we don't think this country should get to be a part of polite society because of its actions. That's an interesting view from Maddie. I wanted to bring in a current athlete who's getting asked these questions that's, involved in the countries that are involved. So this is Victoria Azarenka speaking at the Australian Open, and she was asked some questions by a journalist in the media pack.
I don't know what you guys want us to do about it. Like, talk about it. I don't know what's the goal here. That is continuously brought up, and these incidents that, in my opinion, have nothing to do with players, but somehow you keep dragging players into it. So what's the goal here? I think you should ask yourself that question, not me.
Does it frustrate you that, particularly last night, for example, there was a clear sort of pro-Russian demonstration happening within the grounds of the tournament, that these people are coming and using the Australian Open as a platform for these kind of demonstrations? Does that frustrate you?
Whatever the answer I'm going to give it to you right now, it's going to be turned whichever way you want to turn it to. So does it bother me? What bothers me is there's real things that's going on in the world. And I don't know, are you a politician? Are you? Are you covering politics?
No, I'm a sports journalist.
Yes, and I'm an athlete. And you're asking me about things that maybe somebody says are in my control, but I don't believe that. So I don't know what you want me to answer. And if it's a provocative question, then you can spin the story however you want.
It's an interesting dialogue, and where do you sit on that? Because
I think Victoria makes it. I mean, the question was, I thought, framed intelligently with articulate. I just didn't think Victoria didn't think she had to answer it. I thought she handled it pretty well, to be honest with you, because she's damned either way with whatever side she takes, and she is an athlete. This isn't her profession. This isn't what she goes out in a tennis court to have to come and answer those questions or before a match. So I actually feel sympathy for athletes under those circumstances.
So like that's the whole argument though, isn't it? Like where do the athletes sit in influencing this stuff and banning athletes or not competing against teams or pulling flags. That as Matt rightly said, that is identifying political duress or pain or what, illegal things are happening, war, whatever it is. That's one side. But the other side is the athletes, which, again, I may be biased, but it just doesn't seem, in my brain, I can't compute that does what it's meant to do, which is, I don't know, is it meant to, I think it's punishing the wrong people somehow. I don't think that's punishing the country.
Yeah, well, there's always going to be discussions on that basis. You think of the Live Golf with the Saudi connection there and their treatment of women. There's so many that are events and sports now that have connections to, and obviously the Australian Open tries to embrace every nationality that comes and is allowed to compete. But unfortunately, the lines have been blurred for what is sport and politics. Always have been, as you say, going back to the 80s. And Kim Hughes led a rebel tour in 1985 to South Africa. Apartheid, of course, a massive issue, and they received lengthy bans and a lot of criticism for doing that. The flip side was that people in South Africa said, this helps bring the country together. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. It's a very delicate subject to try and say, look, doing a tour of South Africa under those circumstances is beneficial or detrimental towards what is trying to be achieved on a world scale, and that is to give minority groups or racial groups the rights they deserve.
If you're coming to solve the world's problems, I reckon you're in the right spot. Shelter FootyCast. No, I'm saying we're getting right into the big stuff. Mark Redding's Will Schofield back after this. Let's get back into our bread and butter standard.
Let's just stay in our lane because we're getting a bit, getting tiptoeing outside our lane here. And we are footy sports people, but we are not brain surgeons.
A couple of battlers.
Don't confuse us for professors.
Oh, I don't think that confusion has been made. Don't worry. AFL, West Coast and Fremantle here in Perth. There's been a confirmed schedule of match sims and pre-season games. So, as we mentioned, Port Adelaide and Adelaide coming over. Fremantle will play Adelaide in a match sim. So this will be broadcast on KO, I believe. So you'll be able to watch this, but it'll be closed to the public. This will be the weekend before the pre-season games. So
which game are you talking about here?
This is Fremantle Adelaide.
No, well, I can confirm that it's not closed to the public. I said that on radio yesterday, and Tanya Armstrong just said, no, this is open to the public. I also spoke to the Eagles about the match
West Coast Port Adelaide,
which is the week before those other practice matches. That they're working out whether that's going to be open to the public.
Oh, that'll be great.
I thought it was closed as well, but I have since been told certainly the Fremantle game open for spectators.
I'm excited about that. That's good. So then the preseason games are the next weekend on Fox Footy. It'll be broadcast like the old Ansett Cup or whatever it is. Fremantle play Fremantle. Shut up, Dan. Fremantle v Port Adelaide, Freo Oval, 2nd of March. So that definitely will be open. We know that. Yes. And West Coast v Adelaide, Mineral Resources Park, the 3rd of March. So that's the Thursday and a Friday night. What do you think the difference is between a match sim and a pre-season game?
You tell me, Sky, because you don't ask a question unless you know the answer. I reckon you know the answer.
So match sim, well, they're calling them match sims, and they're doing 6 times 25 minutes, no time on. Actually, hang on. Fremantle Adelaide apparently is 6 times 25 minute, no time on. West Coast Port Adelaide is 4 times 28 minutes, 2 times 20 minutes, no time on.
So this is all between the clubs have come up with these as opposed to the AFL.
Look, correct. So the biggest difference would be, it's more relaxed for starters. There will be umpires in the match sim, but I think if say for the Fremantle Adelaide game and the coaches will be sort of near each other and they say, look, halfway through the last, they're like, the boys have had enough here. They'll just call it off. They'll just say pull them off the track.
Achieve what we want to have achieved.
There'll be no benches. They'll just be making changes whenever they like. I think the actual gameplay will be quite similar. You get a real look at what another team does. But in a match sim, you can change things up. Instead of doing a centre bounce after every goal, or if it's not going the way the coaches might like, they might just, I'm missing the word, fabricate a forward 50 stoppage. They might just go tell the umpire 10 minutes in, hey, can you take the ball down to the boundary line? And we want to get some setups. We want to, I don't know, Adelaide might want to defend some forward 50 stuff, and Freo might want to practice their exits.
So the two coaches are going to be almost in communication during the day?
I think so. It's you're not playing for sheep stations. No. They want to get run into the legs. They want to see how some of the younger guys go.
And also play against different faces.
But you can just there's a few more levers to pull. Whereas in a preseason game, it's a game that's not played for points, but everything else will be the same. Umpires will be the same. You won't be they'll be playing full minutes, normal game. It's a practice for round one.
So you get quite. I can tell you're a bit engaged in these practice matches.
No,
no, it seems you are, and that's great. And a lot of fans are. It's just I know it's a bit like dancing with your sister. It doesn't really, from a spectator's point of view. Look, I understand the nuances and what are coaches showing anything like their full hand in these or not?
I mean, it's funny though because there's not many sides have all these trick plays. Like I say this a bit. Every side wants to win the contested ball. They want to get the ball going their way. They want to defend behind it. It's a broken record. So I don't think you'll see anything too different. You'll be able to see the style of play, though. If West Coast, as I think they have trained faster ball movement, you'll be able to watch these, both the practice match and the match sim, and you'll be able to see at least them trying to. I think you can expect some more skill errors this early on. But you will watch the game and you will be able to. I think the best thing is as a punter or as a fan or even someone even more involved watching is you can see the style of play. It's less about where's Nick Nat hitting it, at the centre bounce, and more about the West Coast have clearly gone away and they're trying to play quicker, and you can see that. That's what you should be trying to pick up as a fan. I think is less about if someone has 30 touches or doesn't have touches, doesn't perform. Usually the players are still in a high workload area here, so sometimes you won't see exactly what it looks like, but you should be looking for the way they play. So even if you're playing Supercoach or Fantasy or whatever it is, looking for that over if a player has 35 touches, it means he's going to have 35 every week. No, look for how the midfield's set up. Look for how they move it out of stoppage. Look for are they getting a winger off the back free? Are they, you can see little things like that.
So you were suspecting, given the latter positions of last year, that you'd see more aesthetic changes, more to the eye changes than at West Coast than what you'd see at Fremantle. Is that what you're expecting?
Fremantle will be firming up what they did last year. Yep. I think they may have some little tweaks. They've had some personnel changes with Jackson coming in. How does that dynamic work? I think that's the biggest one at Freo, as well as Nat Fyfe. His role, like he still is one of their best players. Does he sit in the goal square the entire game? Are they making him a pure forward? Are they playing him 50-50? You'll probably be able to see that in the game. But in terms of game style and game plan, I think Freo will be very similar. Great defensive setup, well organised. Freo actually play it's a little mix between West Coast and Collingwood because their coach, that's where he coached. So they can use the ball by foot. They can also move it very quickly, which is sort of a Collingwood thing, and they do both. JL would hopefully he doesn't mind me. They call it take what you see, take what you get. Sorry, take what you get. You got the footy in your hands. If the opposition's covering the middle of the ground, don't kick it there. If the opposition's covering the switch, maybe look down the line. If you look down the line, it's crowded. There's not many options. The switch might be open. So take what you get, and they can do all modes, which makes them a good footy side. So I think you'll see a pretty continued area from Freo. That's it from Freo West Coast. A little bit of WA team action. The Scorchers, of course, they're having a nice long break for BBL terms, just waiting for their grand final.
Absolutely. When you think of what the two teams today, Sixers and Heat, are playing Thursday afternoon.
Yep.
One of them has to jump on a plane tomorrow and then back up on Saturday. Now, I know it's not AFL, but you'd rather be sitting back here cooling your heels, doing some training, in Matt Kelly's case, getting himself right from concussion.
Yep.
The question is, who does Adam Voges select as your final piece of the puzzle with the team because Lance Morris has gone across to India with the rest of the Test squad. Peter Hatzoglu, who has played 10 matches this year but hasn't taken a wicket at Optus Stadium.
Right.
Not really a spin-friendly deck, Optus, as we saw last weekend with the Sixers. 2 spinners didn't do much. Matt Kelly, alternatively, 5 matches, 6 wickets. So you suspect whichever opposition comes to town, they'll prepare a deck that's bouncy, very similar to what was last weekend.
Yeah.
Because the Eastern States, not so much the Brisbane Heat, because the Gabba's got a bit of bounce to it, but certainly the Sixers, a lot of adjusting required for them. So Hatzoglu to miss out, Kelly to play. And the BBL team of the year selected this week.
Yes.
Josh Inglis named, so too AJ Ty and Aaron Hardy, my man. So 3 of the group in there. Steve Smith has opened, even though he came into the party late. So the BBL team of the tournament, that's a nice window dressing. Of course, Scorchers in front of a big crowd. Last tickets go on sale tomorrow, 10 a.m. our time. It's going to be 45,000, and it's going to be bloody hot at 4:30 when you're sitting on the whatever side it is of the ground, far wing in the sunshine at 4:30. Jeez, I know it's a summer sport, but geez, that is going to be hot for spectators at about 35 plus degrees.
Sellout? Is it a sellout yet, or will it be a sellout?
Not sure a sellout, but sellout constitutes 60,000, doesn't it? Almost.
Yes.
So I'm thinking 50. 50 is a great result.
I mean, this semi-final or whatever it is, prelim today, Steve Smith, Nathan Lyon, Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne, Matthew Renshaw, all gone. Do you think that's scheduling from... Is that poor scheduling, or is it like...
It's
is it never meant to have...
It's hard. Yeah. What we've seen is that the figures for Fox for the Big Bash this year, not sure about 7, have gone up 33%. Now, whether that's because...
Wow.
I think it's a better put-together package. Matches have been more exciting. Having the Test players, our best players involved, makes a difference, albeit they've got to go to India. But I think the product this year has been better.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I've faded a fair bit, and where I've watched more this year. Don't know what it has been. There's also been not else happening. I don't know.
And also, we're playing matches in Perth, which for the last couple of years, we haven't had any matches in Perth. So from our point of view, to be able to go to the Scorchers, or even watch a game at Optus, it's worth it. Our team, to be fair, has been outstanding.
Wildcats, the Perth Wildcats, they've got 2 games remaining. They lost their third last game. They've got to win out to make finals. There's some slight possibilities if results go their way. If they lose 1, win 1, but they'll be trying to win these last 2. And Cairns and Sydney Kings, I feel like they're good sides.
They're top 2.
Yep.
Cairns is missing Keanu Pinder, I believe, for tomorrow night. So that's going to open the door for them. And Sydney, who have locked away top spot, to my knowledge, they won't be bringing. They'll be a bit like Ross Lyon when, the last round, that the job's done. You've got your top 4 or top 2 locked away. They'll be bringing, I would have thought, a makeshift side. So the door opens for the Wildcats. You take the wins as they come. But 2 top teams to finish off. I think they've got to win at least one of those to put themselves right in the frame. But it's still a big mountain. I mean, qualifying for the finals in that manner doesn't give me a lot of confidence.
No, and we've heard that from you for the last couple of weeks.
No, they've had some good results, but and of course Bryce Cotton, just quickly, his citizenship becoming naturalised, that's not happening in the short term. He won't be representing Australia in the Olympics in 2024. It's just been an absolute debacle to try and, whether it's immigration, whether it's the government, whether it's Basketball Australia, whoever it is, they've just not made this happen as quickly as what it could have done.
I do think, though, having been an athlete, I do think, athletes are put to the front of the line. Sometimes it makes me think if he can't do it, imagine, just a regular punter who's lived in this country and, just plied their trade, not in the public realm. If that's the process, well, Bryce Cotton shouldn't get special consideration, in my opinion.
Having said that, I think he applied 3 or 4 years ago. Now,
Right.
that might be normal.
Yeah, correct.
Might be a normal process.
Correct. Once again, you and
Us
I.
out of our
in
comfort
lane.
zone.
Perth Glory, not comfort zone, lane. Perth Glory, they play the Newcastle Jets at Macedonia Park on Saturday. Still in 7th. They can play finals, which is a big thing, seeing as though they they were on the bottom of the ladder at the start of this season. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get into a couple of big issues, a couple in footy, a nice little cricket story as well, and the GOAT retires, Mark Reddings, Will Schofield, Shelter FootyCast. Taryn Thomas in AFL land. It was a pretty interesting series of events yesterday, being Wednesday. The Footy Club North Melbourne came out with a statement, summarised for people who didn't see it. Yes, we're aware of allegations made around Taryn Thomas, specifically around women. We are aware we've complied with the AFL and the Integrity Department. Police are involved, but we'll effectively wrap our arms around him and he'll continue at the club. Within hours, that changed to Taryn Thomas is away from the football club. You might have followed it closer than I have. What are your views on it?
Yeah, I thought Sonia Hood could have been stronger. I know it's a delicate issue. I know, particularly with the Clarko investigation, the background and how that racial investigation is continuing. But let's put this case in isolation. Multiple women, and bear in mind, he's already been charged with threatening to distribute an explicit image.
Yep.
That's there. Multiple women have since come forward about harassment, about intimidation, about his behaviour. The club decided, no, we're still going to stand by him at that stage. I would have thought it would have been a perfect opportunity to say, Taryn, go and have some time away from the game. Let's get this sorted before we expose you to more cameras at training, more scrutiny. If you're innocent, fine. That will be decided in the fullness of time, as they say. If not, then a decision, I think, has to be made very quickly if it's proven he's guilty on a third of the... Anyway, harassment of women and what the league's trying to do with regards to respect of women, he won't be playing this year if these allegations are proven correct.
I saw Kane Corns, and take it or leave it. I know some people won't have him, but he has strong opinions. I personally respect that. He's happy to stand by his words. Sometimes it seems a little over the top, but I would say the majority is pretty well placed. He said that if 20% of these allegations are correct, he should never play AFL again.
Oh, I'm not disputing it. If they are as bad as what these allegations are, then absolutely. I mean, I've got daughters. I've got a wife. Women play a huge part of my life, as they have in yours.
Yep.
And if this is where it's at, if these allegations are true, as good as Taryn Thomas might be, he's not a star. He's a good player, emerging, but cut him free.
It should be irrelevant whether they're stars or not. I mean, Jordan Ngoe last year.
Yeah, well, that's a nice segue because Jordan Ngoe copped a lot of heat, and perhaps deservedly so to some degree. But by the same token, the woman that he was involved with in Bali said it was consensual. So I don't know. I just think that the heat went on him really strongly. And Taryn Thomas with the allegations, I just, whether it's a Collingwood, North Melbourne thing, I'm not sure, but it does seem as if there's been a slight difference in the way that these two matters have been addressed, just from the outside.
Yeah, it's. I think you've summarised it pretty well, Skeeter. We'll keep you updated with how that progresses along, but at the moment, Taryn Thomas is away from the footy club and it's with police. It's now out of the AFL's hands. I think the AFL have come out and said we won't be putting any punishment until it's resolved at the higher level, which is
could take some time.
Correct. Excuse me. And that is probably the last thing North Melbourne needs as a football club. But again, some things are bigger than football, and this is one of them. Tom Brady, greatest of all time, retires properly.
Yeah,
it was an interesting one because last year journalists broke it, and so it was a he's retired, and it almost looked like Tom Brady went on another year just to say, you know what, you don't tell me when I finish, because he didn't play very well this year. And I think he should have ended last year. The end comes for everybody in any realm of life.
Maybe he's saying to his wife at the time, "Hey, you don't tell me when to retire. I tell you when I'm finishing."
Correct, but it can't have been for money. He's not playing for money.
Either way, he's got a broadcasting commentary deal at his feet, worth about $500 million Australian dollars.
Yeah, but if he walked into sweeping rubbish on the street, he's just earned $1 billion playing, and he's not playing for money.
No, of course not. Why was he doing it then? Ego.
Ego, but maybe a good way, competitive spirit. That's his identity.
23 seasons, the greatest of all time. I don't think there's any question in American football as a quarterback. But yeah, it's interesting. I looked on Twitter last night. There it was,
sand dunes
on the beach. And he did. I thought it was a well put together, articulate speech.
From your thing off the top about maths, I will say, his top lip wasn't moving a whole lot, Tommy. I reckon he's had a fair bit of work done, Tommy Brady.
Really?
Oh, mate. You're going to have another look. Maybe ask your daughters. Okay? ask your twin daughters about Tom Brady and how much work
you get some work as in the whole...
Oh, mate. He's got like a Botox top lip. Almost guaranteed. which is ridiculous, Tom. Like, what are you doing, mate?
Mate, he's was married, might still be married to the most beautiful woman.
Maybe that's the issue. Maybe he's not married. Maybe he's trying to attract.
He's a good-looking rooster, though, isn't he?
Well, all thanks to medical science.
Oh,
So back to footy.
Yeah.
Seen this Josh Gilbey stuff?
yeah, milk.
Just
Loves
milk.
his milk.
Just milk.
Like
Milk.
Kramer, just sculls the milk.
I've seen some stuff saying there should be a milk company trying to sponsor him. So Josh Gilbey, if you don't know,
Replaced water with milk. Is that right?
GWS draft day this year, and there was a journalist at GWS covering the team for a week, and they had to get up and share 3 things about themselves that was either important or maybe people didn't know. I've done this at West Coast, even as a senior player, get in front to help to build connection. He's got up in the front of the group and he said, I don't know, I'm from wherever he's from Geelong, played this, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, my favourite colour is red. And number 3, I only drink milk. I've replaced water with milk. And it's true. He doesn't drink.
So he goes to a run, a 5K run. And
Yes,
I love milk. As a kid, I loved milk. Have a veggie toast with milk. And I still love milk.
Yeah,
But he doesn't drink water?
apparently he's replaced water intake.
That can't be right.
I'm telling you.
I know, I've read it. I've seen it. I couldn't believe it.
It's outrageous. Josh Gilbey, best of luck to the young man.
Moo. Yeah.
Let's finish this one. Who's the South Australian women cricketer? That's 2K
South African.
What did I say?
South Australian.
Oh, perfect. Not too far. A couple of geologists going at it, even though geology is to do with stones. South African women's cricket. The wheels are well and truly off here on the show, the FootyCast. South African women's cricketer.
Yes, former captain, Danye van Niekerk, I think her name is. Really big story in cricket. The World Cup, T20 World Cup, coming up in about 10 days in South Africa. Australia, of course, going as favourites. But she has not made the team on the basis, and her coach has come out and said, non-negotiables, she didn't complete the 2K time trial in the required time of 9 minutes 30, I think it was off the top of my head. She was 18 seconds slower than that. Now, bear in mind, whether it's females, whether it's women's cricket, whether it's, I know you've come from elite men's sport, those times you go, well, that's amazing.
The times are relevant.
I guess the question people are asking now is, she's regarded as a great leader, obviously a very talented cricketer, but because she doesn't have the fitness levels to pass the bar, she's dropped, and that's created, I guess, a lot of conversation.
I've seen commentary around this that brings the fact that she's a woman into it, the fact that 2K time trials, that doesn't seem like something that's a good fitness measure for cricket. That cricketers aren't running around constantly for, like, a 2K time trial for a footballer makes sense.
Important.
If you can, but I said the times are relevant, but it sounds like the time is a very slow time, to be really honest.
Yeah, it is.
I've seen all the commentary about, fat shaming and all of this. She is an elite sportsman. She has been the captain of her country, and she can't tick a fitness box. And what, as the coach, you're meant to say, oh, actually, she's the captain. It's all good. She can pass, but everyone else, you have to do that. As an athlete, this isn't a day job, business job where fitness has nothing to do with it. Fitness is a key component of your job as an athlete. If you can't keep your fitness up, you shouldn't be playing. And if that's what the measure is, and if you know that as an athlete and you don't do that, it's on the coach. If he then goes past a blind eye to it, then it's the standards you walk past are the ones that bring the whole team down.
You've obviously never played in a cricket team where you think of guys like David Boone, Darren Lehman.
Yeah, that's in the 1980s.
Aaron Finch. Now, he might pass every fitness test with flying colours. I don't know. I'm just talking guys that didn't move as well as, say, others. Aaron Finch, because of his leadership, because of his batting ability, and let's be honest, the greatest currency in cricket are wickets and runs.
Yes.
Now, if Danye has got those, particularly as a batter,
yes,
has got those numbers high, I don't think it really matters that you don't have the physical times next to your name.
Whether or not fitness matters, I don't think that's the issue. The issue is, as a sports person, if your coach is trying to set standards or is trying to ask things of the players, whether they're right or wrong, as a team, you need to buy in. And without knowing at all, I can look from afar, South African coach is trying to set standards. If your senior player can't keep up to standards, and you know the consequences, I guarantee you they knew. It wouldn't have been like, well, these are your standards, and then after they didn't meet them, like, we're not picking you. It would have been, if you can't come back fit enough, or wherever they've been, you can't run these times, you can't play. They would have known, and they didn't do it. So bad luck. Like, seriously, it's bad luck. The commentary around it being, it's hard done by. Seriously, that's what you do as an athlete. Fitness is right up there with things that you need.
But common sense also has to come into it. I totally agree with what you said.
It's not D grade. It's not D grade cricket, mate. This is part of the
by
country.
the same token, if you've got a D grade, an inferior cricketer coming in who's fitter but ain't going to score you any runs during the tournament, that also has to be weighed up. I just think
culture, mate. It's culture. You can't have senior players not doing what the coach is asking. It's not outrageous either. That's the other thing.
Well, I don't know what. I'm not sure how many. To be honest, I'm not sure how many.
What time did you tell me?
I think it was 9:30.
Oh, seriously, you could walk that. No, I'm not even joking.
You can't do 2Ks in. You can't walk 2Ks in 9 minutes.
It's close to 5 minute Ks.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
So my point is, I'm not sure how many other athletes in that team push the limit. All I'm saying is, I just think cricket has a different variable, and I do get your point about culture, sticking to the team ethos.
Why did every other player do their times? Why could they do their times?
I don't know.
She couldn't?
I don't know. Has she been given the chance to redo the test? I don't know.
Why do you get a redo? She's a senior professional cricket.
Bottom line is, whoever replaced her would want to make a lot of runs.
You know what? I disagree. Bad luck.
Her leadership.
Send culture. It's poor leadership by her sorting her rig out. Seriously. I'm not even joking. Not even slightly joking. If you can't be fit as a professional athlete, what are you doing? Bad luck. See you later.
The mark that she's been set, yeah. Again,
no sympathy from me, as you can hear.
There's many other sports where that element of fitness. You say a golfer, John Daly, mate. You didn't do the 2K time trial. You're not picked for the Ryder Cup.
I know, but it's not a team sport, golf either.
No, but by the same time, I just don't think it's as black and white as what you're suggesting with fitness. But I take your point that athletes have to conform in a team environment.
I take your point, but I also don't take anyone else's point other than my own. I'm right, you're right.
You idiot.
Summer of sour. That was a good one. I like that. We get into a little bit
shortly.
I'm just going to chime in here. I'm going to go that as a draw on the debate there. I don't know if anyone came up on top.
I'll tell you who does fat. I get fat shamed at home by my daughter, so I'm going to seriously. I'm going to drop 5Ks between now and at some stage this year.
Mate, join Fat Chat. So BackChat, you'll be listening to this on the BackChat stream, which. Just as a reminder to finish this off, Shelter FootyCast will be moving over onto its own feed within a couple of weeks. Stay with us here, but we will give you a bit of a lead in. We'll be moving over. But BackChat, on the variety show we're doing on Tuesday, comes out Tuesday, we've started a group called Fat Chat, right? It's not about fat shaming, it's the opposite. Talking about how hard it is to stay fit, how hard it is to not have a couple of shelters, how difficult it is in this normal life that I'm now living to bloody exercise and keep a bit of weight off. So, Fat Chat, we've had about 30 members sign up. You got an Instagram group. Dan put in his walk this morning. I said that I did my calf a couple of days ago trying to get out of bed. Yeah, it's a bit of fun, bit of good. See, I might join you in. Fat Chat.
We can call it Scully and the Fat Man.
Who's the fat man? Mate, I'm 108 kilos.
You don't look...
everyone says that. I think that's a bad thing. I think that's not a good thing. Oh, you don't look fat. Well, I am fat. I am fat.
All those fatties out there, and we are two of those...
mate, I played at maximum 100 kilos. Like if I was 100 on the scales before the game, you put on about 2 kilos carbo loading. If I was 100, I would think, oh no, like I'm big here. I'm 108 and
it's going north,
not even ringing wet, just like dry as they get, and it's going up.
Can I give you some
yes.
other words of warning? You're 34.
Yes,
mate. When you go past 40. Fair income. It's going to get, and 50 for me, it's like Scully. Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
Join Fat Chat. If you're listening on and you want to join, just hit us up on socials, either on BackChat or Shelter FootyCast, and we'll add you into the group. It's just about telling people how hard it is, and then you might actually help hold yourself to account, Skeet, because I know you got
I exercise.
Poor limitations.
No, I exercise. I do. I do. I did a half marathon 12 months ago, so I'm not a complete loser.
I did not say that. That's yours. The Summer of Sour, Shelter FootyCast. We're talking about all things politics, weight loss, bit of footy as well. Socials at Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au. Send us an email, or you can leave a comment over on our YouTube channel. You can find that at BackChat. You can listen to us a podcast. Watch us on YouTube. When's the next episode of Maths coming up, Skeet?
The sour summer of sport coming up with the Scorchers. Go, boys, Saturday night. I'll be drinking one of those shelters before the game, maybe afterwards as well.
See you at the shoot.
You only got one wish. Got some